By 1940, Hitler's Germany ruled Europe. The Nazi swastika flew from the frozen Arctic to the warm Mediterranean Sea. German armies crushed Poland, France, Belgium, and more nations in just months. Everyone thought Germany was unbeatable. But then, only 5 years later, everything changed. Hitler died hiding in an underground bunker. Berlin was destroyed. Germany surrendered completely. How did the most powerful military machine in history fall apart so fast? The answer isn't what most history books tell you. Hitler didn't lose because of one big mistake. He lost because of many deadly errors that started right when he was winning. These mistakes, bad choices, and crazy ideas destroyed Germany from the inside. Let's discover the real reasons why Hitler's empire collapsed, reasons that most people never talk about. Get ready to learn the shocking truth about World War II's biggest failure. Hitler's first huge mistake happened at Dunkirk in May 1940. British soldiers were trapped on the beach in France. German tanks were ready to destroy them completely. Victory was just hours away. But then Hitler did something nobody expected. He ordered his tanks to stop and wait. This mysterious decision let over 300,000 British soldiers escape across the sea to England. Why did Hitler stop? Some experts think he wanted to make peace with Britain. Others say he worried about losing tanks in the wet ground. Whatever the reason, this choice was terrible for Germany. Those British soldiers who escaped later came back to fight again. They helped win the war in Africa and Europe. If Hitler had captured them at Dunkirk, Britain might have been forced to surrender. Instead, Britain stayed in the war and became a base for America to attack Europe later. This one decision changed everything. After Dunkirk, Hitler made another deadly mistake. He tried to bomb Britain into giving up. Hermann Göring, head of the German Air Force, promised Hitler he could destroy Britain from the sky. Germany had about 2,500 airplanes. Britain had only 600 to 800 fighter planes ready to fly. Germany should have won easily. At first, German planes attacked British airfields and radar stations. These attacks were working perfectly. Britain's air force was getting weaker every day. Then Hitler made a terrible choice that saved Britain. A few German bombs accidentally fell on London City. The British Prime Minister Churchill got angry and ordered attacks on Berlin. This made Hitler furious. He couldn't stand bombs falling on Germany's capital, so he changed his plan completely. Instead of destroying British airfields, he ordered attacks on London and other cities. This gave Britain's Air Force time to recover and rebuild. The terror bombing of cities killed many people, but didn't win the war. But all these mistakes were small compared to Hitler's worst decision ever, invading the Soviet Union in June 1941. This was called Operation Barbarossa. Hitler sent 3.8 million soldiers into Russia, the biggest country in the world. He brought 3,500 tanks and 2,700 airplanes. At first, everything went perfectly. German armies moved 450 miles into Russia in just 3 weeks. They destroyed thousands of Soviet planes and captured 400,000 prisoners. Hitler thought Russia would collapse in 8 to 10 weeks, like a house made of cards. He was completely wrong. Russia was too big to conquer. It had unlimited soldiers to replace those who died. Even when German armies won huge battles, Russia just brought more troops from the east. The Soviet Union had over 300 divisions of soldiers, more than Germany's entire army. As Germans advanced deeper into Russia, their supply lines got stretched too thin. Meanwhile, Russian factories moved far away where German planes couldn't reach them. Hitler's invasion of Russia failed for another shocking reason. his own cruelty. When German soldiers first entered Soviet territory, many local people actually welcomed them. These people hated Stalin's communist government. They had suffered under Soviet rule for years. They hoped Germany would free them. This could have been Germany's greatest advantage. But Hitler's racist beliefs destroyed this opportunity completely. The Nazis treated Slavic people as subhumans. They murdered innocent civilians, burned villages, and sent millions to work as slaves. People who wanted to help Germany quickly became Germany's worst enemies. Villages that could have provided food and information instead helped partisan fighters who attacked German soldiers from behind. The Nazi SS killed Jewish people and communist officials everywhere they went. This cruelty meant that Soviet soldiers fought to the death instead of surrendering. Entire populations joined the resistance movement. Hundreds of thousands of German soldiers had to guard roads and railways instead of fighting at the front. Hitler's invasion of Russia faced another enemy he didn't prepare for: winter. Hitler was so confident he would win quickly that he gave soldiers no winter clothing, no antifreeze for vehicles, and no cold weather equipment. He never expected fighting to last beyond autumn. When the brutal Russian winter came, temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius. German weapons froze solid. Vehicles wouldn't start. Soldiers got frostbite and died from the cold. Meanwhile, Soviet soldiers had warm uniforms and equipment made for winter. Fresh Siberian troops who knew how to fight in snow arrived from the east. Under General Zhukov, they launched powerful counterattacks. German armies that had been winning suddenly found themselves retreating in the freezing cold. The dream of capturing Moscow died in the snow. This marked Germany's first major defeat and ended all hope of a short war. The nightmare had just begun. Germany was now stuck. Fighting a long war it couldn't win. Just when things couldn't get worse, Hitler made another insane decision. In December 1941, Japan attacked America at Pearl Harbor. Hitler had no obligation to do anything, but incredibly, he declared war on the United States anyway. This guaranteed Germany would lose. Why? Because America had the world's biggest industrial power. American factories could produce more weapons, tanks, and planes than Germany ever could. America had 16 million soldiers and sat protected by 2 oceans. German submarines couldn't stop American supplies from reaching Britain and Russia. American factories made 114,000 airplanes in 1944 alone. Germany only made 40,000. America produced 29,000 tanks per year. Russia made 24,000 tanks. Germany could only build 19,000 tanks at its peak. The math was simple. Germany now fought against America, Britain, and Russia combined. These 3 countries together had 5 to 6 times more production than Germany. Hitler had turned a European war into a global war he absolutely could not win. It was suicide. In 1942, Hitler's ego led to the worst German defeat of the war at Stalingrad. Instead of focusing on one clear goal, Hitler tried to capture both the city of Stalingrad and the oil fields in the Caucasus at the same time. This split his armies and made them weak. The battle for Stalingrad became personal for Hitler. He wanted the city because it was named after Stalin. German soldiers fought block by block through destroyed buildings. Every house became a fortress. The German advantages in tanks and air power meant nothing in city ruins. Soviet soldiers defending their own city fought like lions. Then, in November 1942, Soviet forces surrounded the entire German Sixth Army, trapping over 300,000 soldiers. Hitler's generals begged him to let the army break out and escape. Hitler refused. He ordered them to fight to the death, and promised supplies by airplane that never came. For 3 months, German soldiers slowly starved and froze. Finally, in February 1943, over 90,000 Germans surrendered. It was a catastrophe that shocked the world. Hitler's biggest weakness wasn't military, it was his poisonous racist beliefs. Hitler didn't see World War II as a normal war. For him, it was a holy crusade against Jews, Slavs, and communists. This crazy worldview destroyed Germany's chances from the inside. Traditional military goals like controlling territory or defeating armies didn't matter to Hitler. He cared more about his racist ideology than winning battles. This made everything worse. In occupied territories, the Nazis could have won support from local people who hated Stalin. Instead, Nazi racial policies treated everyone as slaves or targets for murder. The Holocaust wasn't just morally evil, it was strategically stupid. Germany wasted trains, soldiers, and resources on genocide instead of fighting. Skilled Jewish engineers and workers who could have helped Germany were murdered instead. The entire Nazi system worked against itself. Hitler's ideology also made him reject good military advice. He fired experienced generals and replaced them with Nazi Party loyalists who didn't know how to fight wars properly. By late 1941, frustrated with defeats, Hitler made himself commander of the entire German army. This was a disaster. Hitler started controlling every tiny detail of battles from his headquarters, hundreds of miles away from the fighting. He had no understanding of what was really happening on the battlefield. His most destructive order was no retreat. Hitler forbade German soldiers from pulling back to better defensive positions. This stupid rule destroyed entire armies for no reason. At Stalingrad, experienced commanders wanted to retreat and save their soldiers. Hitler said no, and 300,000 men were killed or captured. In North Africa, Rommel couldn't move his forces properly because Hitler demanded every inch of ground be held. In Normandy, when Americans landed on D-Day, German commanders wanted to send tank reserves immediately, but Hitler was sleeping, and nobody dared wake him. When he finally gave permission, it was too late. Hitler's interference in weapons development also caused problems. He insisted the new jet fighter be used as a bomber instead of defending against enemy planes. This delayed its use until it was worthless. World War II was ultimately decided by factories, not just soldiers. Germany simply couldn't produce enough weapons to fight America, Britain, and Russia together. Germany lacked critical resources. It had to import 85% of its oil before the war. It needed rubber, iron, and other materials from abroad. But Allied navies blocked German ships from getting supplies. Meanwhile, American factories protected by 2 huge oceans produced weapons on an unimaginable scale. America built 2,700 cargo ships during the war, replacing losses faster than German submarines could sink them. Some ships were built in just 4 days using assembly line techniques. By 1944, the Allies dropped hundreds of thousands of tons of bombs on German cities and factories every year. German industrial areas were pounded day and night. Rail yards, bridges, and oil refineries were destroyed. Synthetic fuel plants that made gasoline for German tanks were reduced by 80%. Meanwhile, American and Soviet factories operated safely, producing weapons around the clock. It wasn't a fair fight. It was an avalanche of industrial might that Germany had no chance of matching. Contrary to popular myths, the Allies had better technology than Germany in the areas that mattered most. British radar won the Battle of Britain by detecting German planes early, allowing British fighters to intercept them efficiently. Allied radar eventually defeated German submarines in the Atlantic by detecting them from aircraft. The Allies broke Germany's Enigma code using revolutionary computers called Colossus. This gave them the incredible ability to read German secret messages and know Hitler's plans ahead of time. Experts say this shortened the war by 2 years. Meanwhile, Germany wasted resources on wonder weapons that sounded impressive but didn't change anything. The V-2 rocket was technologically advanced, but each one cost enormous resources and carried less explosive than a regular bomber. The Me-262 jet fighter arrived too late and in too few numbers. Hitler's obsession with miracle weapons diverted resources from producing regular planes and tanks that Germany desperately needed. The Allies focused on practical technology that could be mass-produced and used effectively. This sensible approach beat Germany's flashy but useless superweapons. The final reason Hitler lost was that his enemies worked together while his allies were useless. Britain, America, and the Soviet Union had completely different political systems. Capitalist democracies teamed up with communist Russia. Despite their differences, they coordinated strategies, shared technology, and helped each other. Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin met regularly to plan operations. American Lend-Lease gave Russia 400,000 trucks, 7,000 tanks, and 14,000 aircraft. Britain shared radar and code-breaking technology with America. This cooperation created overwhelming combined power. When Allies attacked in Normandy, Russia launched massive attacks in the east at the same time. Germany couldn't defend everywhere at once. In contrast, Hitler's allies were disasters. Italy was so incompetent that Germany had to rescue Italian armies repeatedly. Japan fought its own separate war in the Pacific and gave Germany no help. When America entered the war, Japan's neutrality toward Russia actually helped Stalin by letting him move troops from Siberia to fight Germany. Hitler fought essentially alone against 3 giants working together. That unity crushed Germany completely. The lesson is clear: cooperation beats tyranny, and that's why Hitler lost.